At that juncture, I will be very frank, even blunt, I didn't dream that the visit would be such a great success. Well, though I am a born optimist, as I mentioned to your Prime Minister, Manmohanji, but I did not expect that the results, the net results of the Moscow summit would overcome all expectations. But it has happened, so a series of very important documents have been signed or initialed. And, you know, I have a feeling that the Russian-Indian relations are back on a very solid track, are back to their famous freshness, and a new freshness has been infused into this old relationship. And as ambassador who is starting his second ambassadorial tenure in New Delhi, of course I'm happy with such situation. There was a very substantive and interesting talk during that late night dinner at Mr. Medvedev's dacha outside Moscow. All honors befitting the leader of a very friendly country were accorded to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. We have known Dr. Singh as a steadfast old friend of the Soviet Union and Russia, and he has taken the baton to continue the tradition of very firm and very important friendship we have had with India. Then there were also talks between Prime Minister Singh and Prime Minister Putin. They dwell into greater detail of the whole gamut of Russian-Indian economic trade relations, whilst the President and the Prime Minister were discussing more general issues on the political agenda. The Prime Ministers discussed in concrete detail the agreements and the future of our relationship. The frequency of top-level meetings also testifies to the importance our leadership attaches to our relations with India. And there will be more meetings coming, apart from March visit of Mr. Putin. We are planning another summit, the annual summit in New Delhi by the end of the coming year, by the end of the 2010, sometime in November, December, which will be coordinated through diplomatic channels. So it means that there is a clear understanding in the minds of the leaders of the two countries how important is our bilateral cooperation, our strategic partnership. Of course, the agreement which has attracted most attention was the agreement on cooperation in the peaceful nuclear sphere. I do agree that that was number one in its importance, that has been number one outcome of the Moscow summit. Well, I would not like to draw any allusions or comparisons. I wouldn't like to do it, but still you can come to those conclusions yourselves and compare the visits to various countries by your Prime Minister. But we have had the benefit, the Russians and Russia, we have had the benefit of being the first to cooperate with India. We have been continuing to cooperate in this field for these 2 decades. And just before the Moscow summit, I visited Kudankulam and I saw how that beautiful and magnificent nuclear temple is coming into existence. So we have the advantage of being the first. So we have already built a basis for productive peaceful nuclear cooperation. And basing our bilateral, our joint aspirations on this foundation, we can proceed further. The agreement, which was initialed in Moscow, reflects the readiness of India to build nuclear power stations not on a piece-by-piece basis, but in series. And that is a very important thing, because, well, if you need 2 units, say for Kudankulam, we can supply those 2 units. It is, well, a normal commercial deal. But if you contract for, say, 8 or 10 units, then it changes the overall situation of the contract. In that case, well, you will be guaranteed of supplies from Russia, where our nuclear power stations, engineering plants will be engaged. So you will be guaranteed that it will not be a piece-by-piece production of such important engineering machinery and other things, but this will give good contracts to our factories, and I will tell you very frankly that they are full of orders from all countries, from all kinds of countries, including China, Slovakia, and our internal requirements also. So a special case was made for India, and India's requirements are met at a priority basis. So this is our common vision with India for a very long perspective that we shall cooperate in this vitally important field for India's economy, the energy. We have been allotted a new site next to Kudankulam, where we are ready, and I think this will materialize. We are ready to participate in the construction of 4, 6, even up to 8 units altogether. Then the new site in West Bengal, though it has not yet been fixed finally, this will be a matter of special intergovernmental agreements, but also for at least maybe 10 units contracts will be signed, and maybe another site will also be allotted to Russia. So this vitally important field of our cooperation is targeted into the future for several coming decades. So we shall have enough work to do for this and for the coming generation to supply India with energy. Also important on the agenda, high on the agenda, was our cooperation in the military technical field. And the fact that our general program has been extended by another 10 years also is indicative of the trust we have in our military cooperation. Well, we also think that important are other factors like expanding our trade much more significantly than it is now. Now we are going to try and reach the figure of to touch $10 billion US, the trade turnover, by next year. But I think we should put, and we have put the target to touch $20 billion US after 5 years. And I think it is quite possible.